What is up, you guys? I hope you're all having the most amazing day. Happy Monday. Let's start the week off right. Let's be so grateful. Let's be happy. You're awake. You're alive. It's the best time to be alive because you're here, right? So let's live life the best that we possibly can. So I wanted to create a video for y'all about just helping you guys with exchanging habits and recognizing, what habits in my life do really serve me, and what habits in my life don't serve me. And then when we can start to become aware of that and we recognize that, we're able to actually change that and decide, well, what habits do I want in my life? And I like to call this your habit upgrade, leveling up your habits, because ultimately we're just creatures of habit. So if we can learn how to work what's best for us rather than trying to completely evolve and change us, if we can just realize like how we actually function as humans and how our brains really work, and what's gonna be the easiest and most applicable way for us to upgrade or level up, is truly through exchanging a habit for a habit, because we love habits. Whether or not you know it or not, you are a creature of habit and you love it. And so what that may look like for you is that every time you go to Harmon's, you go down the same kind of grocery aisles the same way, you get the same kind of items. And as much as we want to be like these super spontaneous and like free creatures, which we totally can be and we are, we also really need to have discipline and habits. And habits create rituals, rituals create the life that we have, and it helps us through that. And the rituals also are just so powerful, especially as you guys all experienced this year, how many changes have happened for us, right? And those that have structure and those that have like really intense habits, and what I mean by that is really good rituals in place, they're able just to thrive through changes. They're able to just be adaptable through that. And as you all know, the only constant in life is change. And so the more adaptable that you can become through that, the more that you're able to be like, oh, well, these are the habits I already have in place. These are the habits that work for me. These are the habits that make me thrive, not just survive. And so this is what I'm going to do. And then recognizing like, oh, if I'm going in a backward spin, you can start to see that, and you can start to see how self-sabotage may come up for you sooner the more aware you are of your habits and your rituals for yourself, because you can see how you'll tend to reverse into old habits. And that's also like old thinking patterns, old ways, old people, whatever those may be. We go back to old habits sometimes when we're trying to really evolve and level up. And if you're aware of that and you are really good at already having a self-awareness practice of what your habits are and the rituals of that, the easier it is to pull you out of that self-sabotage cycle sooner rather than later. And also to help you create like, oh, I know that I'm not being my best me, like what other habits do I have to create, what rituals do I need for myself? And that just helps us so much. And the more routine we can be in things, the better we just truly become. It's a muscle that you want to grow. And if you go and you research and you look into anybody who is truly successful and who are accomplishing things, 100% they are very self-disciplined, and that comes down to the habits that they create for themselves. So their habits may be that every day they work out, every day they eat well, every day that they're drinking water, every day they work their mind, every single day they show up in a specific way. And that is a habit. It's a muscle they've created. And so they learn to be their best by those habits. Also, on the flip side of that, what if our habits are poor, then that's the same way we show up in life, is do that. So if your constant habits are to just be watching TV, eating frozen burritos, not working out, talking negative to yourself, never growing your mind, watching the Kardashians, yeah, you probably don't have the best life because your habits are not forming to have you create the best life. Your habits create the rituals that you have and create the life that you have. So everything that you do is based upon the habits, right? Like your bank account is based upon the habits that you have. If you're always spending money before you get money, that's a habit, that's a trait for you. That's how your life becomes. So it's recognizing like, what habits do I really have? What habits serve me? And what habits do I want to let go of? And so what I love to invite you guys to do is to kind of take a self-inventory, like literally take a piece of paper and just write it down, write a little line in the middle, and habits that I currently have, habits that I want to have, and start to ask yourself like, okay, what habits do I have right now? And highlight the ones that you want to keep with you. And then the ones that you don't, that don't help serve you, let's talk those out and let's figure out how you can change those habits and upgrade them from one of the habits that you have. So an example of this could be current habit. I wake up, and as soon as I wake up to panic, I wake up to anxiety, I wake up to stress. When I wake up, I don't wake up to an alarm clock, I wake up to my kids. That's a habit, right? When I wake up, I immediately check social media, and then I go into compare mode. That's a habit. So are all of those things serving you? Are they helping you be the best you, or are they distracting you Are they helping you be small? Are they not making your mind grow? And that would be a yes on all of those. So, okay, how can I exchange those habits? Well, what I would love to do, what habit I would love to create is that I wake up to my alarm every morning and I wake up and I meditate for 10 minutes or I journal for 5 minutes or I write down my gratitudes for 5 minutes. I read a book. I grow my mind. I stretch. I do a calm app. I pray, I do a devotional, I read the Bible, whatever that may be for you, whatever you want that to be, that's the new habit that you want. So what's your current habit? If your current habit is never waking up to an alarm clock, well, step one, we need to exchange that. If your current habit is that, well, I set my alarm and I just press snooze, 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 okay, you got to break that habit. And understanding how to break habits is also breaking the environments in which that habit is formed most likely, right? If we can exchange that environment, the quicker you are to break that habit and break that cycle. Take an example of this for smokers. A lot of smokers, it's very social for them, even with the drinking, even with eating. These are things that I've had to work on to exchange my habits to change for goals that I have. And sometimes your habit changing has to be for just a period of time. It might not be forever, but it's recognizing your habits have to change in order to go where you want to go. And so what I mean by that is also changing your environment through that. So an example of this may be, and this is actually something that I did with a client just recently, is she wanted to start waking up on time and she wanted to start, waking up to her alarm and waking up and meditating. And she wanted to wake up like before her kids and just like really have that powerful day in the fresh start of the day. But it was just waking up to her alarm was constantly pressing snooze. So let's change the environment. So if the phone is right next to you and it's so easy to press snooze, what if we make it harder for you so the habit isn't there? So what if we change that and we take our phone from sitting next to us, we put it in the kitchen or we put it in the bathroom, we put it somewhere where now my habit of just pressing snooze, I'm gonna have to physically get up to go turn snooze. That's gonna change the habit right there by changing the environment, by changing my instant action. And if I'm already up, I'm more likely to be like, well, I'm already up. I have to walk all the way to the bathroom to press snooze. So instead, I'm going to sit here and now instead of me, I'm going to press snooze and I'm going to press the calm app and I'm going to do a meditation, or now I'm going to write a journal. Now I'm going to do my gratitudes. It's easier to exchange that habit and start to help you recognize that. When you change a habit for a habit and you upgrade those habits, your brain says, oh, this is who we are now. It releases serotonin. It releases that feel-good drug inside of you. You're like, that felt really good to break that habit. And then it becomes a compound effect. And then we want more of that. So we're creatures of habit, just like our kids are, just like everybody else are. We want to do the same things all often, and our bodies and our minds work that way. So when we tell our mind and our body, oh my gosh, that felt so good to stick to this habit, it wants more of that. And so you're able to create those habits for a longer lasting time throughout the rest of the day for yourself too, right? So it's changing habits and it's changing the environment with that. So she did this, and still to this day now she's waking up, and this has been really recent. It's been like 3 weeks, and she's been doing it every single day, just like kicking butt, killing it. And so I'm so proud of her for that. And it's recognizing that the habits that you want are already there. You just have to kind of work with yourself so you can exchange that and see what's my current habit. Now, another habit a lot of people have is to wake up, first thing, check social media. What is that habit doing for you? Is that habit serving you, or is that habit distracting you? Is that making you instantly go into compare? Is that making you wake up to stress and anxiety? Because oftentimes you'll find out a bunch of things about that's going on in the world. You'll sit and compare. You're gonna see those people from their weekend the night before. If that's not helping you necessarily create your mind to be the way that you want it to be. So if your goal is, I want to wake up powerful, I want to wake up motivated, I want to wake up and I want to be like, let's take on the day, yes, and that's what you're doing first thing, that's probably not going to help you. So let's change that environment. Let's change that habit where first thing, instead of looking at your phone, now I'm gonna sit and do something else. I'm gonna journal, I'm gonna read a book, I'm gonna do whatever that may be for you, right? So you're exchanging that habit. Or maybe it's just first thing, wake up and go work out. And first thing, go wake up and drink some water. And then you can do all the different kinds of things like that, right? Now, a lot of people that are trying to get healthy, they have to start to recognize, like, okay, what are some of my unhealthy habits? Well, step one, do you drink water? A lot of people don't drink water throughout the day. So it's recognizing that and just changing that habit. So now every time I walk into the kitchen, oh, I'm going to drink a glass of water. So you start to ask yourself these little questions and start to kind of gamify it, is how you can use that word. Gamifying, your brain loves to be gamified. So utilize that, work that out. especially if you're really competitive, gamification is powerful for you, and it's so good. And our brains like that. Our brain likes repetition. Our game likes how it can see what your success rate is. Our brains want to have that. So utilize that. Be like, okay, today, habit forming, I need to drink more water. Every time I go into the kitchen, I'm going to drink a glass of water. So you're most likely to probably go into the kitchen in your house more than anywhere else. So every time you go, if you're drinking a cup of water, you start to recognize how often you didn't drink water, how easy it is just to change. And it's easier to add in a habit or to exchange habits than it is just to take away a habit. So often people are trying to diet, they're like, oh, well, I'm just not going to have carbs and I'm not going to eat sugar. But what are you replacing that with? Like you can't just take something out and not exchange it. So that's why exchanging habit for habit works for us, because we're creatures of habit. And so recognize that and be like, okay, well, what do I normally do? What do I want to do instead? So an example, at nighttime, I used to love to eat ice cream at night. Like it was like my thing, watch movies, sit there and eat ice cream. I would just treats like you're sitting on the couch. So in exchange of that was I was recognizing, I was getting upset with myself because I wasn't working out, and I would say I didn't have time, but somehow I had time to watch TV. So the exchange was, well, every time I'm going to go sit and watch TV, I'm going to write down like how much time I did that for and start to be aware of that, and then say how I didn't have time for the gym. I can start to exchange that, right? And so a habit I changed was, instead of watching TV, I'm going to go to the gym. So what I started doing with that was, this is years ago, when I first started trying to really get into fitness and get into getting healthier, is I was like, okay, you can only watch TV if you're on the treadmill. And so I'd go down in my basement and I would be on the treadmill and I'd be watching TV. Okay, great. So I was able to change the habit a little bit. But I started to recognize like I wasn't really able to give my full attention to my workout. I didn't really enjoy that. And so part of it later came down to I just exchanged TV for working out. So if I wanted more time in the gym, that meant no more TV time, and that's what I did. And that was an exchange rate for me. So was TV serving me? No. Was going to the gym serving me? Yes. Do I want more time? Yes. Do I want this goal? Yes. Okay, habit exchange. And so it's recognizing what habits do you really want in your life, and do those habits truly serve you, right? And what I realized, if I'm just sitting there watching TV, I'm bored eating. That's a bad habit that I don't want to have. I'm emotionally eating. That's what I don't want to have. And then my self-talk is negative because I'm mad at myself. I'm upset with myself that I didn't keep a promise to myself, and I'm disappointed in myself. And so, of course, my self-talk isn't going to be great. Well, I have control over that by just exchanging this habit and taking it out. So start to ask yourself, like, what habits serve me and what habits don't serve me, right? Habits that serve me is when I'm around people who are really uplifting and powerful. So a habit for me is to make sure that I'm around people who push me and who uplift me. And so it's changing that kind of things, and that helps you create rituals. So part of that is creating a morning routine with that, honestly. And that was, for me, was the rituals that I wanted. Was it became like a habit. It's literally a muscle that you're creating every single day, and it helps you be your best. And then when I don't have that habit, when I don't wake up and meditate, when I don't wake up and journal, when I don't wake up and have that quiet time for a second, I'm not my best me. And I know that. And throughout the rest of the day, I'm like, oh, I'm off today. And I'm easily able to identify that because I can recognize what habit I didn't stick to, right? And so for me, that's why it's so important that I have a morning routine, that I journal, that I read, that I listen to a podcast, that I'm putting on uplifting music. And when I'm in prep and stuff, like so much of your time has to go to the gym. And so it's exchanging some of those things. So like I'll listen to a podcast the whole time I'm working out, or I'll be doing some of my work. Like I'll be writing down affirmations while I'm on the treadmill, repeating them to myself. So it's still using those same habits, but maybe you have to integrate them into some other forms. So you recognize that you can integrate habits at any time, and you can utilize them and multitask with them, but make sure your mind is intentional on that habit. And it's seeing like, where do you want more time and money and effort and spent at? And like, that's where your habits can come from. And so that's how you can exchange or level that up. And then it's just creating that ritual, so that way you're staying consistent with that every single day. So the more you can create that habit muscle, the bigger the muscle becomes, right? And it's just that. And you see these people who are extremely successful and who are accomplishing things every single day in their lives. It's just because they have the habits around them to make sure that that's happening for them. They remove distractions. They exchange their habits. They see like, oh, well, I know if I go here, what that habit's going to form down into later. And you can get really easily, you can create a habit super easily that you don't even want to have. So think of that, like, oh my gosh, I got into this habit, especially during quarantine, right? Okay, like how many people got into really bad habits with their diet, with not working out, with watching too much TV because it's quarantine. And so the habit became, oh well, the gyms are closed, all these other places are closed, and so that was my normal habit. Now that that's gone, I'm going to exchange that, but I'm going to degrade that habit rather than upgrade that habit. I'm going to downgrade that. And so think of how quickly that happened to so many people in just a matter of days. And because they're stressed and the environment changed so quickly too, right? And so because the environment changed for every single person, new habits form immediately. And so recognize that within yourself. If you can change the environment in which the habit is created, the quicker that it becomes. And we can create that in a good thing or a bad thing. So what habits maybe did you create during quarantine that haven't been serving you? Okay, how can you change that environment? How can you change that? And don't let that be the excuse. Like, I'm sorry, take accountability. Like you're a creature of your environment. So change that up for yourself, and you have the power to do that every single day. Like, what do you really want? This is your life. So choose that for you and recognize, okay, what habits do I want? What habits did I form that don't serve me? What habits do I want? For me, one habit that I'm terrible at is I hate folding my clothes. I hate doing laundry. And so I have a terrible habit of doing all my laundry and I throw it all in my closet. Like there's all these clean clothes, but they're just all sitting there. It is disorganized. It is not good. And it makes me have disorganization in my head. And so I'm recognizing more and more like how this habit is formed when I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted right now, so I'll just throw it in here. Okay, I need to change that. So I need to start doing laundry when I have more energy. So I can't let that be the excuse. I do it first thing in the morning and then I can go put it away. So it's changing the habit and changing the environment in which you do this, right? And even like maybe in your business, or maybe you hate answering emails. Maybe you hate sending messages. Okay, well, why? You know this is good for you. What's the habit that you have around that? Maybe you're doing it at a time that doesn't serve you the best. So maybe you're doing it at nighttime. Maybe you're doing it when your energy levels are low. Maybe you're doing it when your intentions aren't right. So change that habit by changing the times and the environments in which you do things. Maybe you need to be more creative. And so get outside and go do it while you're on a walk. Like help yourself create habits that help you be the best you. And it's crazy what we can do when we just start to change that, self-evaluate, and start to ask ourselves that. So truly write down on a piece of paper habits I currently have, habits that I want, and start to exchange them, start to play around with it, start to gamify that, and see how you can level up by exchanging through your environment and the habits that you have, and hold yourself accountable to do that. And remember, it's a muscle. Remember, you have to create that. But remember, if you combine these things together, the quicker that you can form a new habit, or you can let go of a habit. So I hope that this helps you. I hope it helps you kind of understand some different ways of exchanging habits, maybe leveling them up, letting some go, but don't downgrade your habits, only upgrade. My habit goal I'll be working on is putting away all my laundry so my closet can be beautiful and clean and pretty. And that's going to help me with so many things, right? Because in the other habits are, then when I'm trying to find something, I can't find it. I get frustrated. I get upset. I yell. That's not a good habit. When in fact, I could change all of this by just changing my environment and actually hanging things up the way I'm supposed to hang things up, right? And so it's all on me. I just have to do that. I just have to choose that. So it's choosing that and knowing like how this habit will really help me to grow and upgrade in not just one thing, but in so many other things. Because truly how we do one thing is how we do all things. So today, live your best life, work on those habits. You got this.